What if I told you that the anger destroying your relationships, your focus, and your peace of mind actually expires in just 90 seconds? And the only reason it lasts longer is because you keep hitting the refresh button? Today, I'm going to show you the exact neurology of why you get triggered and give you 10 battle-tested techniques that emotionally intelligent people use to stay calm when everything around them is chaos. By the end of this video, you'll understand why that person who never seems rattled isn't superhuman. They just know something you're about to discover. Here's what happens in your brain when someone cuts you off in traffic or makes that passive-aggressive comment. Your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, fires off a burst of stress chemicals, cortisol, adrenaline, the whole crew. But here's what nobody told you. These chemicals naturally flush from your system in exactly 90 seconds. 90 seconds. That's it. The problem isn't the initial reaction, it's what happens next. Your mind starts crafting the story. What an idiot. Who do they think they are? I should have said, and with each thought, you're injecting fresh stress chemicals into your system. It's like having a smoke alarm go off when you burn toast, but instead of opening a window, you keep making more toast. The 90-second rule reveals something powerful. Anger isn't happening to you, it's a choice you're making. Chapter 1. The button, pusher, myth. They really know how to push my buttons. We've all said it, but this phrase contains one of the most disempowering lies about human psychology. The truth, nobody can push buttons you don't give them. Let me explain with something that happened to me last week. A colleague made a sarcastic comment about my presentation. Instantly, I felt that familiar heat rising in my chest. My first thought? They're pushing my buttons again. But then I caught myself, because I've learned that buttons only work when they're connected to something. Those buttons are actually unhealed wounds or values violations from your past. When someone pushes your buttons, they're not controlling you. They're revealing where you still need healing. In my case, that sarcastic comment wasn't really about my colleague. It connected to an old wound from a critical parent who never thought my work was good enough. Once I saw that connection, the power shifted. My colleague wasn't pushing my buttons. They were revealing them. Chapter 2. The secondary emotion. Revelation. Here's something that will completely change how you understand your emotional reactions. What you call anger isn't actually anger. Anger is the emotional equivalent of a security guard. It shows up to protect feelings that feel too vulnerable to expose, like hurt, fear, or shame. Let me give you a real example. When your partner forgets your anniversary and you explode in anger, you're not really angry. Underneath that anger is a much more vulnerable feeling. Do I not matter to you? Anger feels safe. Vulnerability feels dangerous. So anger volunteers to be your spokesperson. But here's the problem. You never remember anything. Creates defensiveness and distance. I felt forgotten when you didn't acknowledge our anniversary. Creates connection and understanding. Same situation. Completely different outcome. The next time you feel anger rising, try this powerful question. What's the emotion wearing the anger disguise? Chapter 3, the choice point. Discovery. Between every trigger and your response, there's a space. And in that space lies your freedom. Most people don't even know this space exists. They move directly from trigger to reaction like a pinball bouncing off bumpers. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps, discovered this truth in the most extreme circumstances possible. He wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. That space might be just a microsecond at first, but you can expand it with practice." Last month, I received a passive-aggressive email from a client. My finger hovered over the keyboard, ready to fire back with a defensive response. But in that moment, I activated my choice point by asking, what response would I be proud of tomorrow? That single question changed everything. It activated my prefrontal cortex, the rational part of my brain, and deactivated my amygdala's alarm system. The choice point is your emotional superpower. It's the difference between being controlled by circumstances and being the author of your experience. Chapter 5. The Observer Self Technique. What if you could watch your emotions like weather patterns instead of being swept away by every storm? Inside, you as an observer, a part that can watch your emotions without becoming them. Most of us completely fuse with our emotions. We don't think I'm experiencing anger. We think, I am angry. There's a profound difference. The observer self allows you to notice, anger is arising, my heart rate is increasing, my jaw is clenching. But you don't become the anger. You observe it. It's the difference between being in a movie and watching a movie. When your teenager rolls their eyes at you, instead of immediately getting defensive, you can activate your observer. I notice irritation rising in my chest. Suddenly, you're watching the emotion instead of being hijacked by it. From this space, you can choose a response that actually serves you and your relationship. The observer self gives you emotional immunity. You can experience any emotion without being controlled by it. This isn't detachment or suppression. It's the highest form of emotional intelligence. Chapter 6, the REFRAME Revolution. This technique completely changed how I view difficult people. What if the most challenging people in your life aren't obstacles in your path, but personal trainers for your emotional fitness? I know it sounds counterintuitive. Stay with me. Think about a physical trainer. They put you through uncomfortable exercises that make you sweat, shake, and sometimes want to quit, but you pay them for this discomfort because you know it's making you stronger. The same principle applies emotionally. That critical boss, they're training your resilience muscle. That passive-aggressive neighbor, they're developing your boundary setting skills. That family member who always pushes your buttons, they're perfecting your emotional regulation. When my micromanaging boss sent their 15th email of the day last week, instead of thinking they don't trust me, I tried a different approach. They're helping me practice staying calm under pressure. Same situation, completely different experience. Instead of feeling persecuted, I felt curious. Instead of defensive, I became responsive. When difficult people become trainers, you stop being a victim and become a student. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to level up emotionally. Chapter 7, the boundary blueprint. Many people confuse boundaries with walls. Walls keep everyone out. Boundaries are gates with you as the gatekeeper. Here's how to protect your energy without becoming a fortress. Healthy boundaries are like the skin on your body. They let good things in and keep harmful things out. They're not aggressive, they're assertive. When someone is yelling, instead of yelling back or completely shutting down, you can say, I understand you're frustrated, but I don't respond well to yelling. Can we talk when you're calmer? You're not rejecting the person. You're rejecting the behavior. Or when that friend calls for the 5th day in a row to complain about the same problem without wanting solutions. I care about you, but I can only listen to this problem for 10 minutes unless you want to brainstorm solutions together. You're protecting your emotional energy while still being supportive. Boundaries preserve your capacity to actually help people instead of burning out from their drama. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Identify someone who consistently drains your energy. What specific boundary would protect your peace while still showing you care? Chapter 8, the timeout protocol. There's a crucial difference between strategic retreat and running away. One makes you stronger. The other makes you weaker. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is temporarily remove yourself from a triggering situation. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You're giving your nervous system time to reset and your prefrontal cortex time to come back online. When your spouse brings up a sensitive topic right when you're stressed from work, instead of snapping or shutting down, try this. This conversation is important to me, but I'm not in the right headspace right now. Can we talk about this after dinner? You're honoring both the topic and your emotional capacity. The key is to communicate the timeout, not just disappear. I need to take a break from this conversation. Let's continue when I can respond thoughtfully instead of reactively. Timeouts prevent damage that takes weeks to repair. 5 minutes of space can save hours of cleanup conversations. We've all said things in the heat of the moment that we regretted later. Timeouts prevent those moments. The mature approach is asking for space instead of just taking it. Chapter 9, the trigger map method. You wouldn't walk through a minefield blindfolded, so why navigate relationships without knowing your emotional triggers? Your triggers aren't random. They follow patterns, people who remind you of your critical parent, situations that echo past rejections, words that hit old wounds. When you map these patterns, you stop being surprised by your reactions. For 1 week, keep a simple trigger journal. When you get triggered, note who was involved. What specifically did they do or say? What did it remind you of? After just a few days, you'll start seeing patterns. I always get triggered by authority figures who are impatient. Sarcasm always sets me off because my sibling used it to hurt me. When you know your triggers, you can prepare for them. I once worked with a client who discovered that her extreme reactions to her boss's feedback stemmed from a high school teacher who publicly humiliated her. Once she made this connection, the boss's feedback lost 80% of its emotional charge. Knowledge is power. When you see the landmine, you can step around it instead of stepping on it. Chapter 10: The Compassionate Distance. Technique. You can care about someone without carrying their emotions. You can love someone without living their drama. Compassionate distance means maintaining emotional boundaries while keeping your heart open. You can witness someone's pain without absorbing it. It's like being a lifeguard. You throw them a life preserver, but you don't jump in and drown with them. When your friend is going through a bitter divorce and calls you daily to vent, instead of absorbing their anger and pain, try this. I want to support you through this. Let's set aside specific times to really talk. And during our other interactions, let's focus on positive activities together. You're being supportive without being consumed. Compassionate distance preserves your ability to actually be helpful long term. Burned out helpers help no one. I once worked with a therapist who was so empathetic she'd go home with her clients' problems. She had to learn that true compassion includes maintaining enough distance to stay effective. Consider someone whose drama tends to consume you. How could you care without caring? Chapter 11: The Story Stopper Technique. Here's perhaps the most transformative insight of all. You're not experiencing reality. You're experiencing your story about reality. Change the story, change your emotional experience. Every time someone triggers you, your mind creates a story. They don't respect me. They're trying to control me. They don't care about my feelings. But these are interpretations, not facts. Your boss gives you feedback in a curt email. Story number 1: they hate my work and want to fire me. Result: anxiety, defensiveness, and poor performance. Story number 2: they're busy and want to help me improve quickly. Result: curiosity, gratitude, and better performance. Same email, different story, completely different emotional experience. When you become conscious of your stories, you stop being a victim of your interpretations. You become the conscious creator of your experience. This isn't about positive thinking or denial. It's about recognizing that multiple interpretations of the same event are possible and consciously choosing the one that serves you. Chapter 12: Knowledge without practice is just entertainment. Here's how to turn these insights into your new automatic responses. Start with just one technique and use it for a week. When someone triggers you, remember the 90-second rule. When you feel reactive, find your choice point. When emotions arise, activate your observer self. Each time you choose a new response, you're literally rewiring your brain. Neuroplasticity means your brain changes based on repeated experiences. For the next week, pick just one technique. Maybe the observer self. Every time you feel triggered, simply say, I notice emotion arising. That's it. Just notice. By week 2, this will start becoming automatic. By month 2, you'll have a completely different relationship with your emotions. Small, consistent changes create massive transformations over time. The person who never seems bothered by anyone isn't born different. They've just practiced these skills until they became automatic. You can too. My conclusion: think about who you'll be when difficult people no longer have power over your peace. When triggers become opportunities for growth instead of sources of suffering. When you respond to life instead of reacting to it. That person is waiting for you. If you found value in these techniques, please hit the like button. It helps more people discover this content. Share this with someone who could benefit from better emotional control. And make sure you're subscribed for more content on mastering your inner world.